In the near future, Europe has fallen victim to an apocalyptic catastrophe, leaving only a handful of survivors behind. There's a mysterious force around capable of manipulating people into ending things for themselves, and this force is spreading through the whole world. Sebastian and his daughter Anna are taking a break from their troubles and enjoying some fun together in a Barcelona skating rink. But they start to flee as soon as they hear a noise. Sebastian is struck by many blind individuals as they make a sharp turn in a hallway and falls to the floor. Sebastian gets punched a few times, and then the group grabs his supply bag and walks away. After spotting a broken bottle on the ground, Sebastian thinks of defending himself with it, but Anna warns him against it. After covering their eyes, the two exit the building to discover the streets demolished and still teeming with corpses. They find a group of other survivors after some trekking, and Sebastian advises Anna to conceal before approaching the group to ask if they can join them. Sebastian says he was a building engineer in the past and claims to know where to find generators that can offer light and indoor warmth, which convinces the gang to accept him even though they are concerned that he could endanger their safety. Sebastian is brought to a bus station by the group, where he meets Liliana, a medical professional who treats his wounds, and they hide with other survivors. Later over dinner, along the way, he meets a man who sewed his own eyes to protect himself and maintain his sanity. The man tells him of the terrible things he has witnessed others do when under the entity's influence. This man says that although the majority of people are afraid of the thing, certain people, known as the seers, remain unaffected and are able to navigate the city without the need for blindfolds. But those who are not resistant to this are singled out by those seers and slain. When everyone in the bus nods out after supper, Sebastian recognizes an opening. He enters the office covertly, takes all the keys, and begins experimenting with them on the bus. The sound wakes Liliana, who tries to stop him, but Sebastian claims he's locking the driver's door and that he's doing this to set them all free. When he eventually locates the correct keys, he wakes the group up by driving the bus around the station in an awkward manner. The other survivors yank the door open and start beating Sebastian to get him to stop, but this just makes him drive faster and faster until he smashes through the front door, escapes, and then crashes again, flipping the bus. Sebastian claims the thing is approaching and describes it as gorgeous as soon as he crawls out of the bus. Sebastian observes how light departs the first man's body as he is taken aback and quickly ends things for himself upon seeing the creature. Liliana and the others emerge with their eyes closed, but Sebastian makes them open right away so they can see the thing. With the exception of Sebastian, each survivor goes on to terminate their own life through various violent means. Sebastian watches as radiant lights emerge from their bodies and ascend to heaven, but all of a sudden, Anna reappears, grasps her father's hand, and assures him that everything will be alright since he has saved them. All of a sudden, there is a flashback to 9 months prior, when Barcelona was first attacked by this unidentified entity. When Sebastian got the call with the alert, he was in the middle of working, and people in the office were abruptly ending things for themselves. When Sebastian's wife called to ask him to pick up Anna from school, he took to the streets, where he saw people frantically trying to escape for their lives amid complete chaos and fear. Sensing something is wrong, Sebastian ran away while people fell victim to the entity's power. Then Sebastian returned to the streets, where a building exploded. Eventually he made it to the school, where he found a dead nun on a desk and all the girls backing away in fear. Sebastian found Anna and they ran away together, but when they made it to the entrance, something outside exploded and started a fire. The duo tried to leave through the school chapel instead and bumped into the school's pastor Esteban. This pastor believed that the entity was an angel, and its divine presence made it impossible for people to look at it. In order to prevent further suffering, Esteban suggested that humanity should be freed from the confines of life itself. This notion profoundly affected Sebastian. Next, Sebastian covered Anna with his jacket and ran to their apartment building, only to see Anna's mom crossing the street and getting run over by a car. Back in the present, sometime later, Sebastian sees a woman entering a store. He tries to sneak around to attack her, but suddenly some dogs attack Sebastian first, revealing a whole group of survivors led by the dog's owner Rafa. Octavio, Claire, Roberto and Isabel, the couple, and Sophia, a young German girl who strongly resembles Anna, make up the group. Rafa initially objects when Sebastian asks to join the group, but Sebastian soon wins them over with the generator story once more. They eventually arrive at their hiding spot, an abandoned anti-war shelter. Sebastian tells the group he's alone. Even though Anna keeps popping up in the background telling Sebastian to use the girl to get everyone to come out. A fight breaks out when Sebastian abruptly admits that he lied about the generator, but Sophia intervenes to break it up because she doesn't want any more people to suffer harm. She tells Sebastian that she was separated from her mother during their trip to Barcelona and that she had to witness numerous people die when the incident first began. Sebastian is able to communicate with her because he knows German. In addition, Sophia says she heard on the broadcast about a castle in the mountains that is thought to be the most secure location from the entity. She even draws a picture of the castle in the cable car that leads to it. Isabel assumes that Sophia is referring to Montjuic after seeing the drawing. The group decides to go there after debating the advantages and disadvantages, expecting to find food and safety inside the castle's walls. Sebastian experiences a strange nightmare that night about everything that has happened to him. They set out early in the morning to reach Montjuic, pausing only once to pick up a map. Sebastian takes advantage of the opportunity to break the dog's leash after everyone has gone to sleep. The group is abruptly surrounded by the entity, which speaks in the voices of people's deceased loved ones, on the streets the following morning. With confusion and distraction setting in, the dogs break free from their leash and flee. Just as Sophia hears her mother telling her to open her eyes, Octavio intervenes. When Rafa takes off his blindfold while looking for his dogs and hears them howling in agony, he sees the entity and instantly perishes. Octavio finds a house they can use at that moment, and he lets everyone follow him inside by whistling. Octavio shares his theory that the entity is a quantum being that exists within a fluctuating compound and is capable of reading human emotions, especially fear and grief. Sebastian begins to doubt himself because of this, but he gives Sophia Anna's necklace when he realizes she won't stop crying. Claire tries to connect with him by reminding him that the entity manipulates him by using their loved ones. This increases his skepticism. Roberto suddenly faints from an infection in his wound, prompting Octavio, Sebastian, and Claire to search the building for medication. Sebastian runs into Anna again in a room with an open window, telling Octavio to come on in, saying the window is closed. When Octavio arrives and opens his eyes, he sees the entity, which makes him decide to end things for himself right away. Fortunately, Claire pulls Sebastian out of there before things get worse. Later, the few members that are still with them travel through the city and toward Montjuic. Sebastian discovers that bodies bearing Esteban's mark are scattered everywhere. Suddenly, a seer on a bike blocks their path. As the group tries to flee, Roberto and Isabel are struck by the seer and fall. The couple takes off their blindfolds to pass away together before the seer can take them, realizing there is no way out. Sebastian takes Claire and Sophia inside a secure structure after spotting the approaching entity. When Claire eventually realizes that Sebastian is a seer as well and that he killed the others, it's because his goggles aren't truly dark. Sophia is taken by her right away, and they flee. When Claire and Sophia make it to the roof while running upstairs, Sebastian approaches them, pushes Claire, and then reaches for Sophia's blindfold. But before he can remove it, he runs into Anna again and finds that she is bleeding. Sebastian ends up hugging Sophia in place of him because he feels bad about what he did. A few months prior, while Sebastian and Anna were in the apartment enjoying her birthday, there was an unexpected break in that left Sebastian unconscious. Upon awakening, he found himself on the roof alongside Anna, Esteban, and his adherents, who coerced Anna into opening her eyes and succumbing to the force. Sebastian turned to face the entity after witnessing his daughter die, and as he did, Anna's apparition materialized next to him, pleading with him to release more people. It turns out that the reason seers survive is that the entity utilizes them to find new victims. In the present, Sebastian saves Claire, and in an attempt to win her trust again, he tells her about Anna and says he's come to his senses, promising to keep them safe. During that instant, the trio attempts to flee via the roof as the seers break into the building. Following them, a woman fights Sebastian in an attempt to damage his eyes. She falls and dies though, as Sebastian pushes her away because he is stronger. But Esteban and his gang are driving around the city in their own cars and begin to pursue them. When they get to the cable car tower, Sebastian leaves the car and causes it to explode in order to kill a few seers who are pursuing them. Then Sebastian tells Claire to take Sophia and go on while he holds off Esteban. As the men argue over philosophy, Claire leads Sophia up the old stairs and Sophia almost falls through a broken step, but thankfully Claire picks her up just in time. There's no way to do this while blindfolded, so Claire decides to risk it and take hers off. When they finally make it to the top, Claire discovers that the cable cars are not operational. Thinking quickly, she rings a large bell to create vibrations, luring the entity towards them. As the creature arrives, the surrounding environment begins to tremble, including the cable cars. Meanwhile on the ground, Sebastian sees Anna walk through the car on fire and attacks her to get rid of this painful vision, only to discover it's Esteban and he stabs him with an iron rod. Sebastian is immediately stabbed back by Esteban, and the two men continue to push their weapons against each other. Claire, holding Sophia in her arms, looks up in the tower and leaps into a cable car, landing safely and making her escape at last. Sebastian also succumbs to his stab wounds, but not before he notices the cable cars moving, allowing him to pass away peacefully in the knowledge that he had aided his friends. The military greets Claire and Sophia when they arrive at the castle a short while later. Sophia eventually reunites with her mother, and they learn that a whole community resides here. Claire is brought to a lab in the interim, where she has some blood tests done. When Claire questions the other researchers about the goal of the tests, they clarify that they have been trying to identify the exact emotions that the entity is targeting and to find a chemical marker of trauma. The intention is to create an antibody that would protect against the organism. Rats are given the antibody by researchers at a later time, and their cages are kept inside a containment chamber. During this process, a seer that appears to be one of the experimental subjects is lying in bed. Suddenly, a menacing growling sound emerges from the containment room, and the seer desperately demands to see it. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.